Okay, so this is a key to topic 18, and that was the worksheet called Radicals Extra 2. And this is what it looked like. So you had 10 problems altogether, and you're told to simplify each of the following and then assume all variables represent positive numbers. Now, the fact that you're told to assume all variables represent positive numbers implies that you know you don't have to use uh, absolute value notation. Okay, so that's what they implied, no use of absolute value notation. And then it also said that no work is necessary. Okay, so let's look at number one. And so in number one, now these are the easy kind of problems here. So all these will simplify uh, very well. So there's not going to be any issues with this idea. But the concept behind it's important, especially as you go on through the study of radicals. Okay, so we have the cube root, so the index is 3, so we have the cube root of x to the 24th. Now remember what that means. That means what, remember cube root, so what times itself 3 times, what times itself 3 times is x to the 24th. That's what you're asking yourself. And many of you don't have to write this down, but in your mind, that's what you're thinking. You're asking yourself, all right, so what times itself 3 times is x to the 24th? And I know that I'm going to have variable x here. And just keep in mind that all of these are the same expression. So all these exponents have to be exactly the same. And so remember our product rule for exponents. When you multiply like bases, you add exponents. So what number added to itself 3 times is 24? Well, the answer is 8, right? 8 plus 8 plus 8 is 24. So 8 goes here. And remember how we talked about this. We said, all right, since the exponent is 24, what you would do is you would divide 24 by the index 3, and that's how you get 8, and so that's what goes here. So the answer is x to the 8. So x to the 8 times itself 3 times is 24. All right, and when we talk about number two, the way to deal with number two is this. So you ask yourself, um, well, first of all, what some of you probably did was you rewrote this as the product of two square roots. So you wrote this as the square root. Let me put the square root here, as the square root of 81 times the square root of y to the fourth. And you know that the square root of 81 is 9 because 81 is a perfect square. 9 times 9 is 81. And that same idea we did with this one. So you ask yourself, what times itself twice is y to the fourth? Well, 4 divided, and remember there's no number there, it's understood to be a 2, hence the idea of square root. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, so the answer should be y squared, right? And it is, because y squared times y squared, when you multiply like bases, you add exponents, 2 plus 2 is 4. So this becomes 9y squared. And number 3, let's rewrite it the same way we did this one. So I'm going to rewrite this time it's a cube root. So it'll be the cube root of x to the 12th times the cube root of y to the 15th. And so what times itself 3 times is x to the 12th? Well, 12 divided by 3 is 4, so it should be x to the 4th, right? X to the 4th times x to the 4th times x to the 4th is x to the 12th. You can always check it. X to the 4th times x to the 4th times x to the 4th is x to the 12th. And the same thing here. The cube root of y to the 15, 15 divided by 3 is 5, so that should be y to the 5th. And so there's your answer. So x to the 4th, y to the 5th. Number 4, let's think about it the same way we did these. So you're asking yourself, what times itself is the radicand? Now, radicand is x minus 5 squared. Okay, so do y'all agree that x minus 5 times itself is x minus 5 squared? So that's what goes here, x minus 5. Same thing with number 5. It's very similar to number 4. So what times itself is 6x to the second power? Well, 6x times 6x. 6x times 6x is 6x to the second. So that's 6x. Okay, number 6, you have the cube root. So I'm going to rewrite this as a product of 3 radicals. So that's going to be the cube root of negative 8 times the cube root of x to the 18th times the cube root of y to the third. And so the cube root of a negative 8 is negative 2, right? Because negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 is negative 8. I can simplify this very easily. 18 is divisible by 3, so 18 divided by 3 is 6, so that should be x to the 6, and it is. X to the 6 times x to the 6 times x to the 6 is x to the 18. And then 3 divided by 3 is 1. So there's your answer. So the answer is going to be negative 2 x to the 6 times y. All right. Number 7, let's look at number 7. So number 7, we have the square root of this rational expression. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the quotient rule for radicals. See here I use the product rule for radicals. So when you have this, in this case, the square root of a product, you can write as a product of the individual square roots. Here, the cube root of a product, you can write as a product of individual cube roots. Here, though, you're going to use two ideas. You use the quotient, division, quotient, and you use product. So the way I'm going to do this first is this idea. So I'm going to write this as the square root of 25x to the 8th divided by the square root of 16y to the 4th. And then if you want, you can break this down even further. And most students don't. Most students can look at this and indicate, hey, the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of x to the 8th is x to the 4th, and so on. Okay? So you don't have to rewrite it like I'm doing. But in your mind, that's really what's happening. You're taking the square root of each individual factor. And then the same thing down here, square root of 16 times the square root of y to the 4th. And so the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of x to the 8, 8 divided by 2 is 4. Over here, the square root of 16 is 4. And the square root of y to the 4th power is y squared. And so there's your answer. So you get 5x to the 4th divided by 4y squared. Now, let me kind of remind you about something else as well. So remember, you're taking the square root of this, right? So you're asking yourself, what times itself is 25x to the 8th divided by 16y to the 4th, right? And so you're saying that the answer is 5x to the 4th divided by 4y squared times itself. That's what you're saying here. So always check it. 5 times 5 is 25. X to the 4 times x to the 4th is x to the 8th. 4 times 4 is 16. Y squared times y squared is y to the 8th. Okay, so there's the answer. And the same thing with number 8. So in number 8, I want you to think about this idea here. So that's square root. So number 8, what times itself is x to the 18th divided by 36? What do you think? Well, the denominator should be easy for you, right? What times what's 36? Well, 6. And then x to the 18th, so these two exponents have to be the same. So what number added to itself is 18? Well, 18 divided by, the index is 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9, right? So the answer is x to the 9th divided by 6. Number 9, you have the 4th root of 16, a to the 12th, b to the 16th. So if you want to write this as the 4th root of 16 times the 4th root of a to the 12th. So I'm just using the product rule for radicals. And then the 4th root of b to the 16. So the 4th root of 16 is 2. The 4th root of a to the 12th power, so 12 divided by 4 is 3. So I get a cubed. Makes sense because a cubed times a cubed times a cubed times a cubed is a to the 12th. And then the 4th root of b to the 16 is b to the 4th. And so there's your answer. So 2a cubed b to the 4th. And you can always check to make sure that's correct, because you remember what that means. That means that if you multiply this out by itself, it's going to be kind of messy here though, but if you multiply this out by itself 4 times, let me write this out one more time. Okay, so if you multiply this out by itself 4 times, you should get 16, a to the 12, b to the 16. So let's check it. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So I do get 16. Let's multiply the factors of a. So a cubed times a cubed times a cubed times a cubed. So when I multiply like bases, I add exponents. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 6 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. And then for the factors of b, same thing. When you multiply like bases, you add exponents. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. Okay? And then finally, number 10. So number 10, don't forget though, your answer is going to be negative right here, so don't forget to bring that down. So you have the square root of 100 times the square root of x to the 12th times the square root of y to the 8th times the square root of z to the 10th. Well, the square root of 100 is 10 because 10 times 10 is 100. The square root of x squared, so 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that's just x, as x times x is x squared. The square root of y to the 8th is y to the 4th, right? Because y to the 4th times y to the 4th is y to the 8th. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then the square root of z to the 10th is z to the 5th. Z to the 5th times z to the 5th is z to the 10th. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And so there's your answer. So negative 10, x, y to the 4th, z to the 5th. Okay? All right, so that is the key to, topic 18, radicals extra 2. And so that was the worksheet there.